Morning, beautiful people.
Yeah.
Good race
Hell
day.
yeah.
Great race day.
Phenomenal race day. 2 great race days in a row, man.
Yeah, which, not to say not just us called it, but like when you have Kansas and Darlington back to back, you have high hopes. Like that was kind of, and then we have the All-Star race, but then we have Charlotte coming up, which has been a banger in this car. So like we're in that good, like everybody said, the month of May is great for NASCAR.
Dude, we're in a solid part of the schedule. Kansas, Darlington, North Wilkesboro, freshly repaved. Who knows what's even going to happen there? I've got high hopes. Charlotte, Gateway, this car races pretty well at. Let's not talk about Sonoma coming up. So I am all about it. I am fired the hell up right now. That was an awesome, awesome race, and I didn't even get to watch it until this morning. So I just finished this race 5 minutes ago. I'm surprised my voice hasn't given out because even at 9 o'clock in the morning, I was hollering. at the TV. Yeah, absolutely screaming during those last after that last green flew. It was awesome.
Yeah, I was loving it. I just all the drama and like different stuff throughout there was just great stuff throughout the race on top of like the tire wear and strategy and just being Darlington and having, comers and goers just naturally. But you also had the Byron Blaney Truex thing go down, which was like some good drama in the middle. And then you have at the end, you have Buescher and Reddick go down. And I honestly expected when he started walking over there, I was like, Buescher's about, if he would have had his helmet off, I would almost bet money that Buescher was going to punch him in the mouth.
Yeah, no doubt.
So close, but then you had that drama too, and so damn, I did not mean to burp right into the microphone. I apologize for that.
Oh man, long night will do that to you.
Snuck up on me.
Coffee,
yeah,
coffee for the win there.
But yeah, it was. I said word for word last week. Darlington has stood the test of time.
Yeah,
no matter since 1969 or whenever they said that track started, like it is. No matter what car, what tire, what package, what anything they bring to Darlington, Darlington has always put on great races.
Hell yeah, it has. And it's every generation of car. It's no matter what Goodyear tries to mess up about the tire, no matter what the car itself is doing, the NASCAR is putting on the track. You're right. It just always gives you great racing. It was the side of the first races that we had back whenever COVID happened. So Darlington's just been a special place for NASCAR, and it just proved it again this weekend. Throwback weekend, too, so I got my throwback Dale Earnhardt #2 car shirt on. It's a winner's circle. It's a winner's circle shirt even, so don't see those too often anymore.
Yeah, it used to be the thing back 20 years ago. Maybe
you can't hardly
20 years ago, but
yeah, you found it at a random little spot in Fairview, Tennessee. They had this one little rack that had shirts on it, old style shirts. It's like a little, kind of like a one of those little consignment shops where everybody comes in and puts a booth out. One of the booths had a rack of shirts. There's maybe 10 of them, and a couple hats up there, and a good few of them were NASCAR shirts randomly. So I found this one, and then a Daytona 500 2004 winner's hat, so that was pretty neat. Got a couple Earnhardt memorabilia.
There's something about those little flea market type things where the people have their own booths, and it's like booth like D5, D6, whatever.
Yep.
Usually, almost like 100% of the time, it could be as small of a little bitty one. It could be that one like we went to on our honeymoon that's like 3 acres or however 10 acres big. I can't remember whatever it is. But it could be a little bitty one.
I was not on the honeymoon.
Yeah, Caleb was not there. But whether it be, little bitty or really big, you can almost count on a NASCAR booth being in one of those. And if it's a big one, you can kind of count on maybe a few,
Yeah, and we stopped at that one place in, where is it, Crookville or Crossville? I always get those two confused in my head. But there's that one. Yeah, JD's or JP's NASCAR outlet on the way to Bristol.
Did you know that?
I knew it was, yeah. Whenever that was still rock and roll, and they had billboards on the freaking interstate coming up to it. It was awesome.
That place was awesome. I really hated that closed because that had like a people are, if anybody knows what I'm about to say or like what I'm talking about, I'm gonna say this wrong, but it was like one of the last like official NASCAR like licensed merchandise stores, something like that. And then like one of the last ones that had like the same like trademark and whatever that's called. There's only like one more left in the United States.
Do you know where it is?
I don't. I feel like it's way up north, dude. Like I want to say like Maine or something, like something way away. Now, we're getting off topic here, but I don't mind. The place we went to was in
It's
Joliet.
throwback weekend. We're talking buying old NASCAR diecasts.
Or maybe I get Joliet and wherever we were. It was like
Marion, Illinois.
I don't know if we've ever talked about that on here, but that place, it's on your little downtown square in Marion, Illinois. One of the most, even out of all the NASCAR little shops we've been into, one of the most badass NASCAR shops ever.
Oh, it's awesome.
They
the
had
guy
sheet
knew his
metal
stuff.
too.
Yeah, and the guy knew his stuff. I ended up buying that levitating car stand there, which I'm still in the process of moving into this house, and I just found that levitator stand. It is covered in soot, ash, dirt, and grime. And I am hoping like hell that sucker still runs whenever I plug it in. There's a solid chance it may be toast, but I loved that thing. That was awesome to have out.
I know I've told this story to like we've talked about this, but I don't know if I've told it on the podcast, and if I have, I'm going to tell it again. But we were down there, and my favorite thing about that whole trip is when you and the owner guy got on the floor, laying down in the floor, playing and like showing with this thing like kids, and I was like, it's almost like this is what NASCAR is about in a way to me.
This is what it's
like,
all about, yeah.
Like two
me and this dude we had
men
just met
laying in
like
the floor
5 minutes ago.
Yeah, 5 minutes ago. And if you like when NASCAR people meet, it's like you already just like feel like you know them because you just start off a conversation and then boom, you end up laying in the floor playing with race cars. You know, it just happens like that.
Just bringing the kid out of us. You know, there's no, you're never too old to get on the floor and play with race cars. I don't care who you are. You can come at me in the comments for that one, but I'll do it till the day I die.
This needs to be the clip right here.
Yeah.
Speaking of bringing the kid out too, on this podcast specifically this year, we have brought it up weekly about the NASCAR Crocs.
Yeah,
and
we have.
Our buddy Jeff, Travis's truck driver, bus driver, not truck driver. He's him and his wife. They're awesome people. They helped me when I was sick. You know, all around just great people. He texted me a couple weeks ago, and he asked me like what size shoe I wear, and that's why he must have said I knew what it was. But I was like, I didn't
that
think
would
about
make sense.
That. But he texted me what size shoe I wear like a while back, and I guess they bought these, and he was like, I'll just give them to Dawson, and then Angela told him like, well, today's Dawson's birthday. He was like, well, no shit. So I got to do it. I have some the NASCAR Crocs with the COT wing on the back. And my favorite part is one piece on the right shoe lights up like I'm 12 years old. That's my favorite part of the shoe. So
yeah, the funny thing is I'd never actually seen the NASCAR Crocs in person. I'd only seen them on social media. And so when you showed up and you had them on, I was like, holy crap, because you had gone shoe shopping in the middle of the day, so I assumed that you bought them for yourself. I had no idea because we were in Columbia, South Carolina, about an hour away from Darlington yesterday, working our show. And the day before in Rome, Georgia, your hometown, day after your birthday, about 5 o'clock in the morning, just come a gully washer, and it had already been raining. What did you say, like 2-3 inches already the day before on your birthday in Rome?
I was told between Tuesday and Thursday there was 2 inches of rain, and then there was 2 inches of rain Friday morning between like 5 a.m. and 11:30 or something like that.
Yep. So that's what we were greeted with when we walked off the bus. Rome, Georgia, Rock the Country Festival was a mud bog. And no one was prepared for it. We had tennis shoes and shorts. And I was so mad at myself. I just pulled my boots out of my bag because I thought, 2-day weekend, I'm selling merch. I'm not going to need these. We're not going to be dressing up. It's a festival. No way I'm going to need boots on this festival. It's going to be way too hot. And damn, I was wrong. I should have looked at the weather. I didn't even think to.
I had my mud boot, my Huck boots in my truck. And because I was wearing them during the week because it rained all week too. Like it's just been raining, so I've been wearing my
everywhere
boots anyway. And I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, I just like sat them in the truck and went with my normal tennis shoe and Croc get up.
Yeah, So we were rocking On Clouds, which are not waterproof. The ones that we have are
I
not
bought some
waterproof
ones.
at all. You did.
Yeah.
And we're walking around this place, and it's no joke backstage because they spent all morning trying to get the where the crowd was going to be ready because they had to do that stuff before they could open doors. It was going to be an absolute mess if they didn't. We had like a Woodstock 99 thing going on. And everybody starts finally coming in. They had to move doors already an hour back. And I saw a bunch of people on social media that I know from Rome.
Back.
Yeah, they were all complaining. Then they moved it another hour back. And you had this guy on the back of a trailer that had like a wood chipper sending out hay over the field. I mean, just flying hay out. So it's just hay dust and
everybody
crap
sneezing
floating in the air. Everybody's sneezing, coughing, barely able to breathe. Couple people that are allergic to hay are out there, and they're just like, well, this is awesome. And on the other side, they have bulldozers and bobcats out there scraping the topsoil off so that way they could get down to the clay so they could put hay over that. And it took them all day. No joke, they got done. The reason they pushed doors back because they had to do all this stuff to the area. And by the time they were done, it was just a mess. And they finally let people in. Our entire show got pushed back like 45 minutes even.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole thing was just a mess. All that to say, we ended up finishing the day out. Our shoes are disgusting. I have not pulled them out of my bag yet, and I'm not looking forward to it because I'm going to have to pressure wash my shoes to get all this mud and muck out of them. Yeah. Might have ruined my On Clouds too. So we were in the middle of the show yesterday. You went and got shoes, and I could have sworn that you saw the NASCAR Crocs and just made a rash decision and said, I'm just going to buy them. Screw it.
Yeah.
Use up your per diem money. But then I found out it was a birthday gift from Jeff. It was awesome.
Yeah. Luckily the On Clouds that I had, I'm still keeping them for other Rock the Country shows. But
yeah,
the On Clouds
still got 3 to go.
Yeah, I had I've had them for like a year and a half. It's been about a year and 6 months since I bought them, and they've been through a year and a half of touring, 3 NASCAR races, and they're wore out. Like they're wore out, and then with the mud bog, they got absolutely just messed up, and they were covered in mud, and I was like I said, had the per diem. I was like, man, so a guy that like heard us talking about him, he's like, there's an On Cloud store. He's like, they got this whole wall of On Clouds, like a mile and a half away.
There you go.
Well, they did have a wall of On Clouds, but it was not a mile and a half away. It was a lot farther than a mile and a half. I mean, it was like a 10 to 15 minute drive to get to where we were. So it was
a mile and a half as the cup car flies.
Yeah, well longer than a mile and a half. And yeah, they had a whole wall of On Clouds, and me and Dean and Mark, we all bought On Clouds. And
yeah, y'all had like a family outing. I didn't even know y'all had left, and I come back outside, and all of a sudden y'all were just piling out of the runner vehicle. Everybody's just laughing, holding shopping bags. It looked like y'all just went on a little shopping trip, a little girls trip out there.
We did. And since we're just completely off the rails, I'm just going to tell you something funny that happened while we were there. I try on a pair of shoes, and the owner, or maybe he had to. I would assume this guy probably owns this sporting goods store, and he's like decked out, and he's talking to us, and Mark accidentally had his like pass hanging out of his pocket, so that like intrigued this guy to like start talking to us, ask him questions.
He knew what was up.
Yeah, so he like hung out there with us the whole time, and his kid, he had like a couple little kids in there running around. Okay, well I sit down. And I try these shoes. I never tried on the waterproof ones, and they feel a lot different than the ones that I had. But I liked them. So I sat down. And I was like, oh fuck yeah! So my head's down, and I raise up as I say, oh fuck yeah! And there's a little girl, and she's probably 5 years older, so about as tall as I am, sitting down, and I say, oh fuck yeah, right to her face, accidentally as I'm sitting down. And I was like, oh, I am sorry. And the owner guy, he's sitting behind me. He's like, oh, it's fine. She called her big brother a dumbass yesterday. And she goes, yeah, because he did this, this, and this. And I called him a dumbass. And it made the whole damn place die laughing. And I was like, holy cow, this is incredible. This is some South Carolina shit. I love it.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
But there were some NASCAR people working with us yesterday. There was a couple people that was had some NASCAR hats. One dude's watching the race on his phone that wasn't me or Caleb. So
that's a rarity.
Yeah, I mean, we're being an hour from Darlington. I mean, you're right there you're in racing country in that part of the world. So it wasn't surprising, but
you had one guy
cool.
you were going to try to introduce me to, but I was so behind. I barely made doors on the Carolina show. I mean, I was done with everything I needed to have done about 10 minutes before the doors opened.
Dude, he started going to.
That was bad. I was in a bad spot.
He started going to Darlington in 1979, and it was something. He told me they used to like put their campers up like a week before. Like they would their spring break or whatever in high school was like the week Darlington was. That was just the way that it fell.
Heck
and
yeah.
so they would have the whole week off, and they would put their campers up, and like the Monday, before the race.
That's awesome.
And he said this was his he didn't say like senior year, junior. I don't know how old he was. He just said he was in high school. This is him and his buddies' spring break. That's all I got out of that. But he said they were the first ones there, and this is in 1979. And obviously this guy's he's old. He's an old man now. And but loves he was the guy with the phone watching the whole thing while he was a rigger, doing the whole thing. Loves Kyle Larson. Loved Terry Labonte back in the day, just whole deal, and he got there when they put their campers up. He said they're the first people there. This was on like Monday morning, the week of the race, and I guess like somebody from the track, whatever, they said, look, he said, the guy came over, he's like, if y'all will mow the infield and the outfield out here where everybody the campers are, he's like, if y'all will mow it, he was like, I'll give y'all a key to the gate. we will pay you, we will feed you, and give you passes to the race.
That's awesome. What a deal.
His first time getting to go in the infield was because that him and his buddies got to like mow the grass for the whole property, however much property they mowed the grass.
That's incredible.
So they mowed grass all week, and he found, and it was on like one of those old. He obviously had them like pulled up because this is like a big story to this guy. You know what I mean? Like, this is a big deal, and he had like all these newspaper clippings. They were pictures, but like of the newspaper and stuff from 1979. And he's showing me the pictures, and it's like him and his buddies, and like they're in the infield, and like he got asked to like one of his jobs. It's just crazy that this is how stuff happens with him. But he was like holding the boom stand for like one of the TV people thing, and he's like standing there like showing me this is him, and he was like 17, 18 years old, like holding the stand, and he was like, the best part of that was he was like, the TV guy goes up and like does the interview, so he's like, you know what the boom stand guy does, right? And I was like, what? And he's like, not shit. You watched the race the whole time. I was like, holy fuck, this is awesome.
That guy sounds like a trip.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh, man. I wish I could have gotten to talk to him. I didn't have the time to make it up here.
Yeah, he was an awesome guy. Now, I can't attest for everybody else that was working with us. They were top 5, some of the worst help that I've ever had in my life. But that's a different story for a different day.
That's a different story for a different day. Oh, you can't win them all. You can have a diamond in the rough. Take what we can get.
Yeah. But yeah,
so
Darlington.
Yeah, fast forwarding back to 2024, now that we've had our throwback moment out of the way. It was awesome. I mean, I don't even know where you want to start with this, but I mean, from the beginning, seeing some of the schemes and everything, it was just a great day. I mean, there's so much to talk about. Qualifying all the way to the end of the race.
I'm not being negative at all. I'm not going to say anything negative about this race. I didn't let commercials bother me. I just enjoyed it for what Darlington has to offer.
Yeah.
Wrecks and comers and goers and all the thing. I had a blast. We had like a birthday, Mother's Day party over here. My family, Lindsay's family came over. I grilled a bunch of hot dogs, slaw, onions. Mom made a bunch of different kind of dips. It was great time. And All-American Sunday, as I like to call it.
Yeah.
The thing that stood out to me the most, though, that blew me away, Regan Smith, and if you watched the race this morning, I can't remember what part of the race this happened, but if it's fresh on your mind, you might remember. But the 4 tires are sitting there, and he says that the left rears were wearing the most, which was
I did hear that.
Crazy to me. And then the left rear is what Larson blew.
Yeah.
When he blew, like when it came off the tire, when it blew, and was off the rim and everything. I just don't. That blew me away. I don't know how. Like, what does? I don't know what caused the left rears to burn off.
So when I heard that, I thought the same thing. I was like, that's so wild because it's either you're driving off the right front if you like your car a little bit tight, and for those that may not know, that just means that you're having to put more steering wheel into your car, and because your car is driving a little tighter and you have to turn it a little harder, it means that all the weight of the car is leaning towards the forward as if you're slowing down, and then to the right because you're turning to the left.
Mm-hmm.
Guys like Denny Hamlin love to drive that way.
I was about to say, Denny drives it that way, and Jimmy Johnson drives it the other way.
Yeah, Jimmy and Kyle and guys with those kind of dirt backgrounds that like looser race cars typically would drive off the right rear, where they're more worried about keeping their momentum and their speed up in the corner and are using more of the aerodynamics of the car and the ability for the car to maintain grip on the racetrack with the tires to make that turn to a higher rate of speed. That's why they always say loose is fast, because if you drive a tight race car, you're going to have more control. But if you drive a loose race car, it's going to be easier to spin that sucker out, but you're going to go faster because your car is angled in a better way through the corner to kind of, in a way, drift or ice skate around. And that's a really dramatic way to visualize it, but it's basically that feel.
Yeah.
And so what I was wondering is, with the way that this car drives in traffic now, and the way they talk about as soon as you start to lose that car, it's like all the downforce of this car is being generated from air coming in straight on through the hood louvers and through the grill of the race car. And the way that they have the body shaped, it's almost like this sucker's like a bullet, or like a picture like a football. When you throw it through the air and it's got a great spiral and it's driving straight on that way, it's going to have great aerodynamics, a lot of downforce, everything built up. But the moment that you get that car sideways, because all the channels of the race car are dug in the way that they are, and the diffuser is using that air that's flowing straight through the car to suck it down to the racetrack, now all of a sudden, when you get that car a little bit sideways, the aerodynamics is completely thrown off. The car isn't designed to have air flowing across the side of it, and so it loses that track really, really easily and causes it to spin out. That's why everybody always says the moment you start to lose it, there's no saving it. The air has nothing to hit. The cars used to have a really flat right side, so when you got it angled out and yawed out like that, the air itself would, in a way, push the car back into line. Now, because the car is so slick, it just flows right over it. Doesn't have that same exact way of recovering itself. And so all that to say, I'm wondering if the crew chiefs are starting, especially at tracks like Darlington, where the high line is really important and you kind of need your car to have a little bit of that loose quality to ride the wall and build that air pressure up between the wall and the car, if they're trying to set the car up with a little bit more bite from the left rear tire as a way to compensate for the fact that you can't really drive it off the right rear anymore without spinning yourself out. So what if we set it up a little bit more balanced in the rear to where that left side tire bites the racetrack a little bit more and kind of helps keep the car pointed straight while still allowing you to be a little bit looser? And that's just me kind of coming up with that off the top of my head. I don't know that that's the case, but that's what it makes me think.
Yeah. That was a good, all that makes total sense. It just blew me away to hear the left side tires were wearing more. It just blew me away. But
yeah, it's wild.
No matter what.
And then, like you said, Larson ended up losing that tire, so who knows what was going on with that.
Very soon after a pit stop, too. He still, though, no matter what, at Darlington, you're taking 4 tires every single time you hit pit road. There's no question about that. Larson,
it's so much fun to finally see the new tire guys flying around the old tire guys, which is just something you don't get with these rock hard tires we've been having from Goodyear.
Yeah,
lately.
when Bubba stayed out so long, and which ended up helping Bubba, that him staying out that long literally jumped him almost 10 spots in the running order from where he was to like where it was. It was like he went from like 17th to like 8th or 9th, and then made it stick there. After that,
it was wild the way that pit strategy worked out yesterday.
Yeah, and I loved it. But when he was getting past, like when William Byron was unlapping himself, and he about rear-ended him. He was going so fast, but they put the speed limits up and Bubba's lap time was like 164, and
Mhm.
Williams was 174. It was exactly 10 miles an hour quicker,
Yeah.
on a new set of tires,
Which is crazy.
which is awesome. I mean, I love that. I love when tires wear out, and I love when tires mean something. Kind of throwing it back to like what Chocolate Myers said on the Dale Jr. download. I didn't realize how much he is involved with the new cars and such. I had no idea.
Yeah.
But he said basically there's nothing you can change on these cars. Once you change one thing, he was like, you immediately change something else, car related.
Yeah.
Whether it be aero, horsepower, whatever. He was like, the one thing that we can change that has nothing to do with the car is the tires. He's like, once we get this tire situation figured out, short tracks and road courses, he was like, he thinks, and he was very honest and brutally honest about how bad short tracks and road courses are.
Yeah.
So it's not like he was, just making this all sound, hunky dory. But he was like, once we get that tire situation figured out, because you can mess with the tire and it won't affect the car the way, like horsepower and air and all that stuff. He's like, once you get this tire figured out at short tracks and road courses, he was like, it's possible that we're going to have the best driving car at all different types of tracks that like we've ever had.
Yeah.
And supposedly, here I am getting off topic again here, but
I love off topic.
Supposedly that's like in the works from what he says. Elton Sawyer says, here again, they could just be pissing in our face telling us it's raining and they don't really care. And maybe this all-star race this weekend is going to give us some ideas about new tires. But he said that Elton Sawyer said this isn't just for shits and giggles. Like, it is to test different, tire compounds on the car, on the tire, the way this car, runs. So I'm hoping that they're serious about that. And then if they do fix the tire and we have tire wear and put it back in the driver's hands at a short track and a road course, we're going to be in good shape. It's just,
yeah, we could. And maybe I get to eat my words from Dover. I mean, I'm still on that train. I loved what we saw at Darlington. I loved what we saw at Kansas. So don't get me wrong, I can recognize a good race when it happens. But I can also tell you that this car has got some major issues when it goes to other types of racetracks.
A bad race when it happens.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is this car is the most bipolar thing we've ever seen. The Jeff Gluck poll, I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there. When I just voted right now, 93% yes.
It was 93 when I voted as well.
96% best race in Jeff Gluck poll history last year, or last week.
Yeah.
But then you go back the weeks beforehand, and we're talking 70s, we're talking 60s, 50s, and we're
even lower in that 40s and such.
Yeah.
Such.
So this car is either the best race you've ever seen in your life, and you're just flabbergasted and you can't pick your jaw up off the floor, or it's the worst race you've ever seen. So that bipolar,
I don't know if there's
would you rather have the average?
Yeah, I don't know. Would you rather have where it's been this opposite at different tracks? Yeah. I mean, even when it was like you just said, it was a more narrow funnel. Like, yes, it was just more narrow. Like, this was, this was good. This wasn't terrible. This one was good. This one wasn't terrible. And they all just kind of rode there in that, like, we'll just say 70-ish% to 60, like, half and half. It was good, okay. Nowadays, you have absolutely incredible or absolutely unwatchable.
Yeah.
And that's like
which
where
is just
we're
wild.
at. And yeah, it is.
I don't know which one I'd prefer, because I wouldn't have these great races to watch if we didn't have the bad races this year, but I wouldn't have great races at all if I go back, 2019, 2018. Yes, there were good races, don't get me wrong, but they aren't exactly throwing a bunch of highlights in your face from those years. And a lot of it was just because it was very flat. I mean, it was a little bit flatter. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just turning into an old man yelling at clouds, but
yeah, it's
just tough. I loved what we saw. I don't know if I want to go back to what we had, but if you can tell me that they have plans in the works and it's actually happening, it's actually working to get these short tracks and road courses better, then I will eat crow all day long.
Here again, we can only go off what we hear. They've they have always just said shit since the beginning of time. So that will never change. They'll just say whatever people want to hear. And then it's, like okay, well, you're not doing anything. So you're just lying to us about what you're thinking and what you're saying you're going to do. But we can only go off what we hear. And if they're being serious about that stuff, and we do see how this all-star race goes, we could be in for some good stuff. You know, I told you on when I was at your house that NASCAR was talking that they were going to tell them when to put like each tire on.
Mm-hmm.
That was exactly how I read that. That is exactly how people on Twitter did that. Dale Jr. was talking about, he said, and he didn't say how the rules work. This is just what he said. He was like, I hope that there's going to be guys with hard tires and soft tires on at the same time, and you can see like comers and goers and the difference of what happens. That is also what I hope. But the way I understood it and the way people on Twitter talk, it sounds like a lot of it's going to be the whole field's on this tire, the whole field's on that tire.
Yeah.
So
Which, just like you were saying, I wonder if they're doing that to test every one of these compounds out against itself, not because as fun as it would be to have different people on different tires, it doesn't really tell you much about each individual compound. So if they're trying to learn about the compound, at first when you told me that, I was just like, that's so dumb. Don't tell them when to put each tire on. But if that's what they're doing and testing each compound, okay, if we put them all on this, or we put them all on this, or we put them all on this, which one gives you the best racing at a short track?
At a short
softest,
track, yeah.
The medium, or the hard compound? Then I get it. Just frame it that way when you present it to me, so I don't have a chance to get mad before you can calm me down, because it's a lot harder to calm somebody down than to get them mad in the first place.
Yeah. So I am interested to see the dynamic and how all this works this weekend because of that, and because these 2.5 second faster laps than what they ran last year. Dale Jr. and them also talked about that. You know, there's going to be the race we see this week at North Wilkesboro is going to be totally different than what we saw last year. You know what I mean? Like, actual product on the track is going to be completely different because of tires and because of new asphalt. And the speed. I mean, the speeds are like mind-boggling how fast they're going on this.
They're going to
look
like a Whirlpool toilet bowl by the end of this.
Yeah, and it's just like kind of the thing with these high corner speeds and everything that just come along with this car and such. Like they talk about it at even a place like Dover, where you're going faster in the corner than even you are in the straightaway at some points because of how this car is. You know, it's just gonna be crazy. It's gonna be. I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I'm looking forward to seeing. I mean, the opens are stacked with guys that could win the open and could really go in there and make some noise. Like, I mean, obviously everybody remembers Josh Berry going out there and just spanking the field in his open in his first. He'd never been in never even been in a next gen car before, and kicking ass last year. And and then you remember obviously Larson freaking was awful. They go wave a magic wand over that car, and he drives from dead last and almost lapped the field kind of fast.
Yeah,
so like, there's
bringing back the DW quotes. Let's go.
Yeah, there's just all kind of I don't know. I'm not dogging North Wilkesboro yet because it's a short track to see. I'm excited to see what happens. And this goes back to that uncertainty thing that I always talk about. Like, they're
adding an element of it.
Yeah, they're adding elements and different things. So, like, those two things are enough to get me excited about the race and not just be like, yeah, this is going to be a single file, slot car shit show.
Yeah, I'm excited for it for sure. We, like you said, with them bringing in new things, changing up the way that they're operating, changing up the track, changing up the tires a little bit, it at least lets us know going into it that they're doing everything that they can to this race to make it different than the other short tracks we've seen so far this year. So at least we get to go in with no expectations, because the worst thing to do is go into a race knowing what you are already going to see and then having that prediction come true.
Yep, and we've done that a couple times this year on this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So this is going to be a lot of fun. And who knows, maybe it helps because looking down the schedule, we got Iowa coming up, and Iowa needs a good race so damn bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I love listening to Brett Griffin talk about Iowa because he's so fired up about them going back, but he's so worried about it just the same way that I am, because I love that track.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm worried that this Cup car is going to be so boring there that it's a one and done. So I'm very intrigued.
Yeah. I've heard that it is going to be a one and done no matter what, unfortunately. I don't know if, here again, I just go off what I see and what I hear. But then I heard, who was it that I heard talking about that? It was like, I would hate to know that they're putting in all this work and effort and money into this to only do it, knowing they're only doing it one time.
Yeah, exactly. And
So
it's got
maybe if
everything it needs to make a good race with this car. It's got those high banked corners in 3 and 4. It's kind of a one groover down in 1 and 2, but in 3 and 4, I mean, you can go high, you could go low. Maybe that's what's going to help this car out a little bit, rather than some of these other short tracks we're going to, Martinsville, Bristol, that are all one groovers now. It just doesn't work
if you
well
have
with this
multiple
car.
grooves in this car, you can make things happen.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
It's been so long since I've even seen a race at Iowa. I know the Cup cars have like never been on at Iowa, but I haven't even. I mean, it's been years since even like Xfinities and trucks have been there, right? Like, it's just. I mean, I know what the track looks like, and I know what it is. And I remember back in the day, 2018, 2017, me and you used to love racing Iowa in the Xfinity Series car on the video game. And it was awesome. It was a blast.
Exactly. And it was just one of those, it had two so different corners. I mean, it's a one groover down in 1 and 2, and it's got 3 different lanes in 3 and 4. I mean, it was a lot of fun. And I remember
there was a spot coming out of 1 where, like, if you hit it, the car would just, and then we're talking about NASCAR, whatever. We're not talking about, like, real racing here, but just, like, just coming out of the corner, you knew if you were there and you stomped the gas, it would turn out from under you and there was no saving it. It was just out from under you. So you do have to you would have to come out of the corner a little high to miss it or a little low to miss it. Or if you somehow got right there in the middle, you had to baby the throttle and have a terrible exit off to get up out of turns 1 and 2. I remember that when we played it all the time.
And who knows if that's actually real, because those heat games are about as accurate to regular NASCAR as looking at a picture of it and telling you how fast they were going. So
totally. I was just wanting to bring it up because that was one of the tracks that we enjoyed racing on back in the day.
And I would love to see a really good race happen there, no doubt about it. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Do you want to go back to some more Darlington stuff since we
were way off
on other things?
I think we're having a hell of a good time doing this.
So. Great conversation here.
So what was obviously the finish was awesome. We got a win for the 6 car finally.
Let's shout out to RFK.
We can
Brad Keselowski,
give them all the credit,
and Brandon and everybody. We have been talking about, like, man, I can't wait to see that American flag, hanging over the side of the 6 car for 3 years. Basically, we've been talking about that, and it's like, they've gotten. I think Brad has had like 6 second place finishes. They said in this
5 or
6.
It was either 5 or 6. I can't remember which.
And
that's a lot.
I mean,
in 110 races.
Yeah, he's been knocking on the door and been so close. And there's just been something would go pretty much every time. Something would go the wrong way, that would screw him. And I really thought
he'd finally get that speed, and the 17 would just, for some reason, have just a little bit extra because he's finished second to the 17 a couple times.
Buescher said they finished 1-2 multiple times.
And it almost happened again this week.
Yeah, dude, I was sitting there thinking when the 6 and the 45 are beating and banging, I was like, oh my God, this is going to screw Brad again. And I would have been all here for Buescher, especially after last week. Buescher winning that race too. But I was like, the first time he came around, Buescher nails the 6 so hard, even got the 6 a little squirrely, and it was awesome.
It was awesome. I was like, let's go! In the middle of my living room when that happened.
He hit him so hard, it like flexed you could see like where the louvers and the hood meet, it like flexed him. He hit him so hard.
Oh, he knocked the ever-living shit out of him. And it was just like, I want you to lead this damn race because I want the 2 of us to battle it out.
He would have went around it. Like, and he had to later on, obviously. And he went so low, he was down in the sponsors to the inside wall in the paint.
Just trying to give them as much room as possible.
Yeah. And wow, and then he gets up there and does his thing. And then I'm gonna say this. I love Tyler Reddick. I have a Tyler Reddick hat sitting right here. I also have a Tyler Reddick koozie sitting right here. I'm a Tyler Reddick fan. He comes from the dirt world.
Agree with you.
And I think he is a great race car driver. But, dude, he comes in and just dive bombs the 17 and ruins both of their days.
With 8 to go, too.
With 8 to go.
I know
It
that's
wasn't
not
even
a
a
lot of
last
time.
lap kind of thing. It would have been
Yeah.
so different if it was like a last lap kind of move and they're, typical beating, banging across the line, whatever. But just straight up, just messed up. And like I said, I thought Chris Buescher, if Reddick wouldn't have had his helmet on, I think Chris Buescher would have punched him right in the nose.
He'd have thought about it for sure.
I was so ready for it to happen.
Like, Brandon said it best when he texted us. He said, what a range of emotions. And, of course, I didn't see that text till this morning because, like I said, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb after I got done watching the first stage. I hung out with Allison for the rest of the day and watched the race this morning. So I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, but he texted last night and said, what a range of emotions. Going from your 17 car who almost won the race and got wrecked out after last week, barely missing a win by a potato chip. A potato chip.
The width of a license plate.
Yeah. And then to go over to the 6 camp, who gets their first win ever with Brad behind the wheel, and it's a huge winless streak broken. I mean, what do you do there? You can't pick favorites, but you got to celebrate one and commiserate with the other. But it just goes to show you how important each and every race is, because last week he kind of let one slip through his fingers. This week he had one ripped out of his hands. So you just gotta do everything you can to get it when you can, because you don't have every opportunity in the world to be leading that late in the race. And I feel for him. He didn't do anything wrong, but. And I'm with you. Reddick's a great driver. I have nothing against Reddick. I've just never seen him make a mistake like that before. This is one of the few examples of that.
Yeah, just a boneheaded move, and he 100% took the blame and admitted that it was a boneheaded move. There was 2 things that I wanted to say about that. One, I loved in Buescher's interview. He was so just pissed off. His exact words were, "I need someone who's more mature than me to talk about this because I am livid right now." I love that quote. Yeah. And then, what was my second thing? Oh, we've talked about Elijah, RFK social media guy on here. Like, I've praised him a ton because I follow him on social media, and he gives a very good inside look of what, not just being the social media guy. Like, what am I trying to say here? RFK social media is up here, and there's a lot of people that agree that's top tier. But on his personal page, he gives you a behind the scenes look, I guess, of just his experiences and what he does during a race, yada yada yada, stuff like that. So I enjoy following Elijah's personal page too, just to see everything that's going on. And he made a post, and he was like, they were actually all, because Brad had fallen so far behind. When they got loose and it was, they were up there racing, he had fallen so far behind. So the whole team and stuff, he said he was already making, he already has to have, he has posted this before too, it looks like he already has pre-made graphics and stuff for races.
Yeah, templates. He just needs to insert car, insert picture of car here, insert position here.
Yeah, so he says something along the lines of he's down in the 17 box, preparing this, because if you look, even last week, it happened so fast. They posted on their social media that Buescher won that race. They had the graphic up.
Oh,
he goes
man,
across the line, post it, and had to remove it a couple minutes later. So he's sitting there and he's getting ready to do the graphic, do the video, and in the 17 box, get ready. He videos the pit crew, the crew chief, all the stuff, them going across the line, whatever. He's getting down there, getting ready to do that, and then boom, they get into the wall, and they both blow tires, and the 6 car goes to the lead. He said he has a sprint. He's already done all this stuff for the 17 car. He has to sprint from the 17 box down to the 6 box and start redoing all of that same stuff.
Man.
Redoing.
And I can't imagine how far down pit road that was. I don't know where the 17 was pitting, but the 6 was pretty far to the end. So.
There's no telling. So it was
and if you've ever been on pit road, it is the most crowded place. So if you're trying to sprint, imagine trying to sprint through Black Friday at the mall. That's what it's like trying to sprint down pit road.
And there's people with gas and tires, and there's fans down there, and there's also each box has 10 plus people at it. There's just a lot.
And those people
going on.
are about the size of an elephant because they're all major college athletes that you're trying to run through. So it's just you already have basically a bathroom hallway's worth of room. Now have 250 of the biggest people you've ever met all in that hallway at the same time. So that is
Yeah.
hilarious. That's a hilarious
so-
visual to try to think.
And
With 8
you
to
knew-
go, you had to get all that done.
all that done, and you're talking about the range of emotions. Like, it's still an RFK win, but like you're going from the 17 to the 6, and it's like flipping a switch. It happened that fast.
Yeah.
And so if you don't follow Elijah, I think his name's Elijah whatsoever. I think that's like his @ on there.
On Twitter or Instagram?
Twitter. Great follow, just to like see kind of like his personal life and what he's doing behind the scenes. But like stuff like that, like you would have never even seen that post if you don't, follow a guy like that. So that's just some more like behind the scenes stuff that, I really enjoy, getting to see that here again, without Twitter, you wouldn't get to see on race day. So
yeah.
All around props to RFK, Brad, social media team, the pit crews, like awesome for those guys. I was so excited.
It was incredible, and that was a lot of fun to watch. And I mean, it was the entirety of stage 3 itself, everything that led up to it. I mean, I think Mike Joyce said, like, right at that last restart before stage 2 ended, when they had that short sprint to the end, Tyler Reddick and Brad Keselowski had restarted on the front row every single time they had a restart or a start. It was them on the front row. So you obviously had the class of the field being the 6 and the 45 all day long. Then you get to stage 3. All bets are off. You've got Brad, who's got the experience of having to save tires and knows how to manage a race to the end. And he's very, very intent on getting that win. And you got Tyler Reddick, who's got youthful exuberance, trying his damnedest to get this win done. It's one of his best racetracks, if you look at his stats there, and he's got the #1 pit stall. So he's looking at all the advantage that you could possibly have. He's got it, and Brad is just one spot short on him at qualifying, pit stall selection, one spot behind him constantly, but right on his heels. Yep. It had all the intrigue of pit road, hard-nosed racing to the end. And 3 cars come to the very end of it that all could get that win. It just had everything. I was so enthralled with it.
Darlington, baby. I mean, you just can't praise Darlington enough. I think the best compliment ever that you could give is like a track that has stood the test of time. Like I've said, 3 times now. But doesn't matter what generation of drivers, what generation of cars, what generation of tire, nothing. Like, Darlington has been awesome since the start, and it always will be. Like, it's just that kind of track.
Yeah.
I freaking love somebody in the stands made a collage. I took a picture of coming out of I don't know if it was coming out of 2, coming out of 4, whatever. I think it was coming out of 4 is the one I saw, or the way it looked like it was coming out of 4. But it was a picture of the wall at the start of the race, a picture at like 100 laps, 200 laps, 300, whatever it was, all the way down to the end of the race. And it's like perfectly pretty and painted, and just gradually gets blacker with rubber and hitting the wall and all this. And to the very end, and this isn't a new thing. This has always been a Darlington thing. Obviously, the Darlington stripes have been a thing since the inception of Darlington. But at the end of the race, like, you cannot read what the walls say. All the sponsors, all the things are ripped off, chipped off, got rubber on them. They're black. Like, it's awesome. And that is one thing I'll give props to on this new car. And I remember Kyle Larson saying it when he won at Homestead. He was like, I finally have a car durable enough to win a race at Homestead. And same thing with these guys at Darlington. Like, back in the day, not back in the day, but back in the end of the Gen 6, it was very, very not durable with fender, the steel bodies, like you bump the wall, you cut a tire. It was like very
it was bad.
There was no like riding the wall. I guarantee you take those pictures a couple years ago, yes, the walls would be black, but they wouldn't be like they are today and like they were back in the day. So you have I've always loved that quote, and Larson won Homestead, I think maybe the first year with this car I think he won it in 2022. He didn't win last year. It was in 2022, but that was his quote. And Reddick was talking about going fast. He was like, to go faster, you got to hit the wall 4 times. And he was like, I have a car that like you can hit the wall 4 times in,
Yeah. No
and I think
doubt.
they said there was I want to say they said 19 cars before the race on Sunday had to get like new graphics on the right hand side. They had to get a new wrap or whatever from practice and qualifying, where they were all
Love it.
in the wall. And like, how cool! I mean, just like that would be a race. Like, I would just want to see someone that had like never watched a race before and be like, dude, to hear Tyler Reddick say, to go faster, you got to hit the wall 4 times a lap. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
it's just like, what does that even mean? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it would be like, holy shit! Like, what does that mean? Like, how? Like, that's what makes Darlington. Homestead the same way. Like, the walls at Homestead are black and wore out just like that. But it's just the higher you go, the faster you'll go, and it's just such a cool thing. And it'll always be cool, and it always has been cool. And I'll quit harping on that now. But I love it. Darlington's just a cool place, and it always has been.
Yeah, it really just delivers, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. You watch the between the fisheye lens that I was bringing up yesterday, where you could see them coming all the way from the backstretch down through the corner.
Is that the wall?
Around.
That was in the center of the
in the
corner, and so you could see to the right and to your left both ways. Yep. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
okay, I just didn't know exactly what you were talking about.
A fisheye lens is just a lens that can let you basically see a wide angle like that. So you're able to watch the backstretch right around, and you just watch them rim riding it all the way. Between that camera angle and then the one that they have that's positioned in four looking back towards 3, that they use a lot when they're transferring to commercials and out of them. Yeah. You just watch how close they are to the wall. And I mean, you're right. You look at the older generation of car, there'd almost be 6 inches to a foot with every car, just depending on how brave you were. Nowadays, it's like 3 inches to 6, because if you hit the wall, who cares? You're going to keep going.
Yeah,
and it's probably going to help you out a little bit. So
yeah, being in the wall does not matter. It was fun in these new cars.
Yeah. Someone I was really impressed by though was Ty Gibbs. Honestly, I got to give him credit where credit's due. If it wasn't for it, I think it was either Joy or Harvick that was in the booth that said, I think their crew chief was just expecting more people to join in on their strategy. If they had adapted to the same strategy as the leaders, it almost makes me wonder if they would have had a bit of a better shot at it. Because having 8-lap difference in your tires when Keselowski's coming up behind you, I mean, you're banking on cautions and being able to outmaneuver on restarts at that point. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you got a caution, but it was a little too late. Once you lost that lead, you lost the advantage of that pit strategy. So it makes me wonder what could have happened if they had just elected to do a different strategy, but still coming out of there with 52 points, running in second place. That's a good day. Totally. Damn good day. Almost a first win at one of the hardest racetracks. So kudos to him.
And there's 2 more things I wanted to give props to that I thought were cool, and then we can hop over to North Wilkesboro and talk about that. Maybe, and then our hacks of the weeks and all that stuff. And we can talk about our favorite throwback paint job, whatever that might be. One, for throwback wise, I thought it was awesome that Mike Joy was wearing the old Speed shirts. That was incredible. And I've said on here, and I posted on Twitter all the time, Mike Joy is a legend and has worked in this sport longer than anybody else that is on the Fox production, more than those crew chiefs, more than anybody. He has been in the sport longer than any of those people, and his knowledge just oozes out of him just by him talking. So, Mike Joy, if you ever listen to this podcast, I just want you to know I think you're the man. And secondly, I shit on Fox all the time, and I could shit on Fox even about yesterday, but I want to say this. I shit on Clint Boyer specifically a lot. I thought out of the however long he's been in the booth, 3 or 4 years, however long it's been, his call of the Reddick-Keselowski battle and the Reddick-Busher battle was his best call by far. He had
I couldn't agree more.
It was informational. He wasn't saying weird shit like he does sometimes. And like sometimes Clint Boyer like says the wrong thing. Like literally the wrong thing. And that's fine, it is what it is, but like everything that he called about both of those battles and the racing that went on there I think when that first battle started, there was like 30 something to go. Just from, let's say, 32, 35 to go to the end of the race, I thought Clint Boyer nailed it and did a great job, and it was like all perfectly wrapped up and put together, and like as a broadcast, and like hearing it, it was like it made you. It was exciting no matter what, but like that made it feel even more exciting the way he was like doing such a good job with it. So props to Clint Boyer on that. I thought it was awesome.
Things I never thought I'd hear Dawson Edwards say on this podcast. Let's go. We get a little bit of a first of everything here.
So before we do Hack of the Week, let's do granted there was only like half the field that did throwbacks. I posted it on Twitter. I don't even know your thought on this. I personally like throwbacks. I always have. Like I hate the ones that like there's I forgot about this one, but Kevin Harvick did the Sunny Delight throwback that was like supposedly to his AOL car back in the day, and like wasn't even the same colors, and like it just like wasn't a throwback. So like I think that's dumb. But like I even like it. I even like it when you have like Long John Silver's this weekend, like use their logo from when they first started.
Yeah,
and like
I thought
the
that was a little
number
goofy,
style, like,
but it was fun. It was a little bit different.
I don't mind it though. Like I really don't, and I don't mind guys throwing back to their own cars. Like Todd Gillen threw back to his first ever late model win in the Cars Tour. Like I don't mind that either. Like it's something about something about like. Okay, my personal favorite was Larson's. I thought Larson's was like
I could see that. It was awesome.
It was as close to Terry Labonte's car. I mean, even Terry Labonte's car back then, the number was very push forward and lean forward on the car. So you honestly with this car almost can't have a better car to throw back to. Like that's how perfect it was, you know?
Yeah. I can agree with you on Larson's car for sure.
And to having Terry Labonte there and in the suit, and like they go around the track together and all that.
With the hats and everything.
Incredible. Like that is what Throwback Weekend is about to me. I think NASCAR, and if you hear all the stuff, and I'm not going to get into all of it, but like NASCAR hasn't done the best job. And if you want to get on or Twitter and listen to Rick Mast, Jeff Gluck reposted like Rick Mast interview about them starting like the NASCAR alumni club. And it's where like they're bringing all these older guys to the track that like built this sport, and it's going to be a thing. I don't know if it's going to be at every race or any race that guys. I don't know exactly what it is, but this was the first one. Like invite everybody. This is the NASCAR alumni group, whatever it is. And I mean, I saw Rick Mast, Terry Labonte, Mike Skinner, Kenny Wallace. The names go on and on that we're all there and doing stuff. But like NASCAR hasn't done a great job. It's not like the NFL. There's no, is that called a pension or whatever? Like the longer you play, the more you get, paid and stuff
after
like
you
that.
Retire.
Like, yeah, they don't pay for any of that. They don't pay for insurance, like nothing like the Major League Baseballs and the PBR and NFL. They don't do any of that stuff for drivers. And that is what it is. I don't care, whatever. I think it would be nice if they did. These guys that, like Rick Max said, that give their whole entire life, blood, sweat, and tears, sacrifice relationships and all that to race and do all this. And that's your own personal decision. So, like, if you want to, that's fine. I'm not saying you got to do all this stuff. But I thought it was awesome that they did, and they're doing stuff now. And Rick Mass said, like, even old drivers have had hard times, like, figuring out how to get passes or how to go to a race or
which is just ridiculous.
Into the track.
If somebody from that era wants to go to a race, it should be so easy for them. They should be able to just walk up and get entry regardless of pass or no pass.
I don't know if you remember, but it was a big deal on Twitter when Jimmy Johnson, his pass had like expired or something, like his hard card. And this was like before he came back racing full time, and he was just not that he's racing full time, but now he's an owner and all this. But he was like, I want to say it was like his first race back into NASCAR at like the Daytona 500, last year, whatever. When he comes back, he had to go through the whole process and do this whole thing. He had to wait in a line, all this stuff. And it's like,
oh God,
we're talking about, and like Jimmy was like, Jimmy was like semi okay with it, but he wasn't thrilled. But then people on the internet, like in the sport, were like journalists, crew chiefs, whatever, is like, this is kind of ridiculous. Like, we're talking about a seven-time champion here, like
people that's ever been in this
sport.
What
are we doing? Like, why doesn't Jimmy Johnson have a fucking lifetime hard card? Like, he should just have a card. He should just have a lifetime hard card along with all these other guys I'm talking about. Like you said, super easy. If you want to show up at a racetrack and go see your old car owner or go sitting with your old people, whatever, it should be that easy. It always should have been. So now, kind of like Rick Mass was talking about now with the NASCAR alumni thing, They have somewhere they can go, and there's drinks, food, place to sit. It's like those guys have their own place. They don't feel like they're bombarding. He's like, another problem was like feeling like you're alienated away because like maybe you don't know all these new guys. You know, whatever it may be. He's like, now they have a place to go watch the races and hang out with their old buddies and like see people they hadn't seen.
Yeah. There's usually a pit, like a pit stall that's not being used to set up a good old NASCAR alumni
box,
bit box.
Be cool. But I don't even know what got me on that topic. But I'd kind of been seeing the posts on Twitter about this thing, just from guys like Rick Mast, Kenny Wallace, whoever. And it was good to see it come to fruition and like seeing all those older guys like really enjoy it, because like those guys are why NASCAR is NASCAR, you know?
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Yeah,
and all that to say, of Throwback Weekend is a great time to instate that and get it started.
Up.
I mean, I saw this talk on Twitter about teams getting less and less interested in throwbacks and this and that, and I saw a good few people with some good opinions on it. I feel like it's more of a fan thing than it is a team owner driver thing. I feel like the teams could care less about the throwbacks for the most part. There's definitely some that actually take it super serious.
All out.
I love that.
Yeah.
But I think the teams honestly think to themselves, I'd rather focus on competition and points than paint schemes and looks. Those paint schemes don't pay points. Checkered flags do.
Yeah.
So I could see it getting less and less interest from the teams, but as fans, it gives us a chance to kind of, it's like a yearly holiday that comes around. It just gives you a chance to look back on the history of the sport and really focus on it and stop worrying so much about what's going on today and just think about all the really cool different memories that you have of different races and such. So I love it, and I agree we shouldn't let that part of NASCAR fizzle out due to lack of interest.
That was what I was wondering, if you liked it or not. Like if you personally like Throwback Weekend.
I feel like for a little bit there, I was getting a little bit tired of it because it seemed like there was no creativity. It seemed like every single year, which schemes were getting thrown back to just got shuffled around to different teams that wanted to throw back to the same scheme. So it's like, how many times can you throw back to the 28 Havoline car? I mean, I love it. I want people to keep throwing back to it. But if that's the only car that ever shows up every year, and there's only like one or two that really go out there and do something different, I feel like it's hard to be creative that way. And you got to get a sponsor behind it, and you got to get your
branding,
you got to make
it
fit the branding in the car and everything. So licensing, I get it. It's tough. It's not easy to do, but it's worth doing. And I love people that get creative and throw back to their own cars, or throw back to this or that, or throw back to just a random one-off car that ran one time, but it was awesome to see it because it was like a really cool car.
Reddick ran Tim Richmond's car. That wasn't Tim Richmond's iconic car that he ran. That was one of his first ever cars that he ran in the Cup Series. That's the car he ran this weekend. And it's like, it wasn't his most iconic paint scheme he ever had. You know, it wasn't the Budweiser car, the Folgers car, but it was freaking awesome, and it looked awesome, and the colors. My biggest thing, too, is like all those color schemes and stuff from the 90s, 80s, whatever, they were just like, they're different than they are now. Like, and times change, and I understand, but it's like, just good. It just looks, it's old now, so it looks fresh again. You know what I mean? Like, I thought Reddit's car looks sick. Exactly. From that old car. And I'll put it out here, too. Like, so Josh Berry, and as much as Rodney Childers has given to SHR and what he has done for SHR and all the wins and championships that he has brought to SHR.
I agree. That was a good one.
They throw back to Rodney's late model car. It had nothing to do with Josh Berry. They surprised Rodney with it, with Harrison's, his sponsor, and the paint job and everything. They surprised Rodney with it. They let Rodney put on the left-hand side of the car. He had his name on the name rail, all the shit, you know. And Rodney posted yesterday. I mean, Josh Berry, props to Josh Berry too, finishing
third. Yeah. Awesome.
Finishing top 3. SHR, Briscoe ran good, and Gregson ran good.
Double top 5s for SHR this week. Chase Briscoe finishing in 5th,
top 15,
and Gregson finished 14th.
Yeah, top 15. But Rodney Childers, and we all know Rodney Childers is an emotional guy, but he said he cried 3 times this weekend. From one, just seeing the car, working on that car, and then seeing that car run so well. Like, it means something to him, you know? Like, Throwback
give
weekend means
give them a
something.
little emotion, and you'll watch them run better. It happens every single time that there's a storyline to be continued in NASCAR. It's one of the few sports that can say storylines come true in this sport because the emotion behind them genuinely drives performance.
Yeah, it was. Man, just all that to say, I'm a throwback fan. I really love the throwbacks, and I think there's certain teams that have absolutely killed it over the years. And there was even Xfinity Series teams and Truck Series teams that killed it this year, I thought. I mean, the 42, which Larson's done the 42 Mellow Yellow car, but a guy ran the 42 Mellow Yellow car. I think it was Honeyman or Honeycutt, whatever his name is. He's got the mustache and the Kyle Petty wig on. Like, he's going all out. I freaking loved Haley Deegan and Wade's car, the 15 old Dale Earnhardt car.
And it got them so much attention this weekend. It was
just
awesome.
like it.
Yeah,
Only thing different,
incredible.
instead of Wrangler, it said Airbox. Like it looked like that car. They nailed that. Same font of the 15, the way the blue and the yellow cut, on the side. Like, all that. I love it. I love everything about it. I freaking Wade shared. I didn't get to watch the Busch Series or Xfinity Series race, and Wade shared.
I tried. I was busy counting in and running behind that day.
Wade shared a picture of the car, and I was like, "Good looking race car." 6 minutes later, he responds to me and says, "Well, not anymore." And I said, "Oh shit! Like, what happened? I'm not watching the race." I hop on Twitter, and boom, she's got a blown left rear, got doored by somebody, and ripped the whole damn side of the car off from the old school blowout where it ripped the whole fender and everything off. And I was like, damn, that was bad timing, because it was literally 6 minutes on my phone after I sent it that she freaking blew that tire and had the issues.
And another example of a funny thing like that was I think it was NASCAR Chasm posted a picture of Kyle Larson spinning out the 5 car, and it said, "Damn, he didn't have to throw it back that hard to Terry Labonte." And it was a picture side by side of Larson spinning out and Terry Labonte spinning out the exact same spot in the exact same way. It was hilarious.
Did you see the Photoshop picture they had of Earnhardt? It looked like Earnhardt's. I mean, it was the best Photoshop I've ever seen. It looks like Earnhardt's car is racing on the track, and Larson's spinning sideways like this, and it looks just like the picture.
I did not see that part of it.
NASCAR Chasm also posted, like, everybody knows Kyle Larson's talented, but do you know he's talented enough to get Darlington stripes on both sides of the cars? I will say, though, I posted the picture.
Incredible.
Obviously, he wrecked, and I hated that he wrecked. But I am obviously, I'm a Kyle Larson fan. This picture, if the folks can see it, this is an awesome picture. He's backwards in the smoking, and it's wrecking, and the picture just looks freaking awesome.
I'd have to see it in person because it's so fuzzy on my side.
If you go to my Instagram, on my story, that's the picture, and it's of him wrecking, but it was just like a awesome picture, flying backwards with all the smoke and everything. What was your favorite throwback though of the weekend?
So to be honest, mine's gonna be really simple. But I had a lot of fun watching it. Was Ross Chastain's Busch Light car? It's not one.
Incredible.
It's not one that necessarily brings back a lot of like racing emotion. It more brings back that growing up in the early 2000s
and seeing that can.
Yeah, seeing that can, seeing beer
awesome.
commercials look the way that they did back then. They just had such good marketing in the early 2000s for beer companies.
Yes.
And I loved that car. I thought it looked good. I thought the blue, paired with all the different blue schemes that Chastain runs already, just fit right into the branding of the one car. I thought they did a great job.
That's perfect. I freaking Chastain's is at one at the top of my list. I had actually posted on Twitter my 2 favorites were the 5 and the 24. I thought the 24, like, I loved that 24 car back in the day because it was black on the bottom, but it had the day glow and neon flames. But then around the flames are blue. The tips, like,
I did not notice that,
are blue, and it looks awesome. And,
hell yeah.
That was kind of like, you had early Jeff Gordon, the Rainbow Warriors, the DuPont Flames, and then that was the second Jeff Gordon. You know what I mean? Like, that was like that second tier Jeff Gordon that was still winning races, but he was it was back, when I was like in high school Jeff Gordon, not kid Jeff Gordon, like, so that one, he did so well with it back in the day too. I mean, any Jeff Gordon throwback, he won all of them, so it doesn't matter. But
yeah,
I thought they killed it all the way around.
Yeah. And in a way to segue, my least favorite throwback of this of this weekend was Ryan Blaney throwing it back to last place. That was
This
my
can
least
segue
favorite
into
one.
your hack of the week,
And
I
that
feel
is
like.
exactly where I'm heading.
Okay.
Because I have a feeling I already know who your hack of the week is going to be. My hack of the week is it was a tough decision. I had 3 different things to choose from, and I feel like I've just got to go with my gut, and I've got to go with Randy Adams here, and I've got to go with William Byron trying to make 3 wide work. And granted, I don't even know if I can truly blame it on William Byron because, to be honest, the amount of run that he got and the ability for him to hold it down there and keep it 3 wide, Truex was really the one that needed to yield the spot. He was the one that was in the middle, furthest back of all 3 of the cars. It's kind of a racing deal. It's kind of William Byron being a little bit overzealous and throwing it 3 wide. So I guess if I have to give it to anybody, it's got to be William Byron. But watching your driver start in the back of the pack, take a great pit stop cycle, get him up into the top 10, where he finishes in top 10 in the stage even, which blew me away, the fact that he even made that happen. And then holding it up there and having a chance. And I was really excited about what that race might put together because I was ready to text your sister. I was ready to text Megan and be like, told you I wasn't fading by Blaney. But she had told us to avoid Blaney at all costs, and she ended up being dead on the money. He finished last place. So I'll give it to you, Megan. You got me on this one.
Yep.
But, man, whenever that happened, I texted you immediately. Screw Truex, screw Byron, both of them. And then you watch it, and if it's anybody's fault, it's Byron's. It's a racing deal, but I'm still going to have to give him my Hack of the Week award.
Totally.
I've got a backup that I'll bring up, but I want to know if yours is going to step on the toes of this one. But I think you're going to go with who I think you're going to go with. I'm going to have a chance to talk about it. So let's hear what your Hack of the Week is.
I'm excited to know what you think mine is, but mine's going to be Reddick.
Yep, I knew that was where you were going. I had an idea for a third, but
okay. I mean, we talked about the Reddick thing at the beginning. I just thought that was a last lap move to me, not an 8 to go lap. Though, I say a bonehead move. I talked about both of these situations that we're giving the Hack of the Week to as like what I love, though. I love the pissed offness. I love the drama. I love that it happened in the middle of the race. I wanted Blaney to go door the 24 car freaking
me too. When he came back on the track, I was like, this is perfect. 4 tires. Just do it. Just do it.
I wanted all that to happen, and I love all that. So we're giving these Hack of the Weeks, but it also like made me love the race even more. So like it's fine. You know, Reddick made a bonehead move, ruined his race and the 17's race, and he 100% owned it. But Reddick, you got my Hack of the Week. I want to hear what your third is, or your extra
my other backup was, and I hate to do it, but salty Kyle Busch fans, come at me. I don't care. I wanted until that wreck happened to give it to Kyle Busch because he struggled
in the truck race this week and the Cup race
from beginning of weekend to end of weekend. I mean, dude, I don't know what's going on with him right now. This year has been a rough one for him, and I don't know if it's a team thing. I don't know if it's a psyche thing. What's going on there? But this weekend was just the culmination of a lot of bad weekends in a row put together to equal up to this. But wrecking out within the first 5 laps of the truck race, not even really having any contact, just losing the truck. I mean, that's just something you don't see Kyle Busch do. And the funny part is I'm giving Kyle Busch this backup hack of the week. The back hack of the week.
Backup hack of the week.
The back hack. And it's just funny because, you know, if anybody else in the truck series goes off of 4 and spins it out like that, are they my hack of the week? No. But Kyle Busch being who he is to the truck series, it's almost like, what is going on there? And that just set forth like a chain of events throughout the weekend until you get to the Cup race. And I swear, if they showed you the in-car or on top of the car camera of Kyle Busch, you were watching him lose like 5 spots because he was up out of the groove and
he was in the wall every lap, it felt like.
Yeah. So I don't know what the heck's going on over there at RCR right now. The 3 cars obviously running like doo-doo unless it's at Texas. Still throwing it back to that happening. But, I mean, they finished 27th, 28th.
Yeah, they finished beside each other. I saw that.
Yeah. Absolutely rough going for Kyle Busch. And where's he at in the standings right now? Let's just take a look here. Kyle Busch is at 13th in the standings for drivers. And playoff-wise, I think he's even lower, down at 15th. So I just don't know what to say. It's rough year for the 8-car. It's got a great driver behind it, but when you see a driver at a racetrack that requires a lot of skill that I've watched him do extremely well at before, it makes me wonder what the heck's going on over there. So the back hack of the week for me is going to be Kyle Busch.
Not that this matters absolutely at all, but this stat blew my absolute mind. Did you know this is the first time Kyle Busch has ever raced at Darlington in a truck?
No, I had no clue. I would have never thought that either.
The trucks have only raced at Darlington like 20 or 30 something times since they only started racing there in 2001. And yeah, that was his first ever race in a truck at Darlington. And since he started racing in 2001 in the truck series, that was the earliest DNF he had ever had.
Damn.
Like in a race.
Rough
I
stuff.
want to say,
is that his first last place finish in trucks?
Dude, I want to say that in Kyle Busch's like 1,000 and something starts, they said that was Kyle Busch's earliest DNF ever in a NASCAR race. I think that was a stat.
Damn.
Because he was out by like 13
crazy.
Or something.
The wreck happened in like the first 5, so it was quick. Right off the rip,
he wrecked and then he wrecked again. Sorry if you just saw me spill coffee all over myself there. He wrecked and then he wrecked again because of the damage of that wreck. Like he wrecked on like lap.
I didn't get the chance to see any
and then
of
he
it.
wrecked
I only
again.
saw the original wreck.
Yeah, and the car was messed up, and the wreck caused the car to be like halfway undrivable, and that caused him to get in the wall. And then after that, they parked it, and that was like on like lap like 13. The first wreck was like lap 5. The second one's lap 13. And they said that was the earliest Kyle Busch had ever had a DNF in NASCAR history. I'm pretty positive in like 1,000-something starts, which is
wild,
insane.
Kyle Busch writing his own records here, just completely straight. That's just completely wild. But so looking forward into North Wilkesboro. Who you?
Yeah,
picking?
I wanted to talk about North Wilkesboro. Like,
who are you picking?
See, this is my thing. My mom. So Megan, it's hard to argue with stats, and Megan picks her fantasy lineups and stuff strictly off of stats at racetracks, and stats don't lie, and she's doing a great job. I did beat her by 1 point this weekend because I had, only reason is because I had Brad Keselowski and she didn't. Her other 4 did well, but because Brad won, that helped me out.
Yeah.
So Megan goes off stats. Mom listens to the podcast, and she likes to hear our opinions of what we think is going to happen in this race. And I'm going to go out here and just say this to my mom. I said it earlier, this is going to be unpredictable, new pavement, different tires. You've only seen these Cup cars on here one time ever, so you don't have many stats to go off of. And it was a
completely different surface.
Completely different scenario, too. So, all that to say, I have absolutely no clue what is going to happen at North Wilkesboro this weekend.
I'm glad you're being so honest because I was going to have to say the same thing. This is a tough deal. If I wanted to go out and just give my hot take of who I think is going to surprise you with, because I did this with Austin Dillon, taking somebody from the back end of the field that runs like doo-doo every week and just tell you they're going to run really good this week with just a wing and a prayer and just a thought off the top of my head. I'm going to say watch for maybe Ryan Preece on this one.
I'm going to say an SHR guy, but it's not Ryan Preece. Something's up with Ryan Preece, dude. He has not run as well as the other SHR cars when the SHR cars run well.
I agree.
I don't know
this
if
is my
it's
hot
study
take.
Group or what, but something.
The Bible study group.
Yeah, and we talked about this last week. We are Ryan Preece fans, but I don't know what is up. I don't know what is up with that. It's like watching me. We kind of talked about it yesterday. Chastain runs pretty much really good. Like not like he's not finishing top 5 every week. Don't get me wrong, but like speed-wise, Chastain has speed like every week. Suarez doesn't. Like, Suarez was running 33rd yesterday. We talked about
finished
that.
24th, and his teammate finishes in the top 10.
Yeah, so it kind of reminds me of that situation. And SHR is definitely I'm like worse off than Trackhouse for sure. But I mean, what are you going to say when you have Gragson that's finished top 3 or top 10 3 weeks in a row? I know he didn't this past 3 weeks prior to this weekend, but he got a top 15, and then you got a guy with a top 10 and a top 5 this week, and Priest is like nowhere to be found on that list of that.
Yeah.
So, I'm not hating on your pick. That just sparked me to say that. Like, what's up with?
I'm only
with
picking
that.
him because the field's kind of evened out. Nobody really knows what to expect. Everybody knows it's going to be fast, but this is kind of going into Priest's background and modifieds, having to race really fast race cars that are open wheel on a short track like this. It's just fast, balls to the wall racing, which is exactly kind of what I'm expecting to see. So I'm wondering if we see a good old fashioned Ryan Priest that we all know and love.
And
so
see, that's what I thought would happen at
take
Martinsville, and it just didn't. Like, even the year that he won the pole and won the first stage, he got back, and which Martinsville's Martinsville, but like never got back. Anyways, I'm picking a guy that's not even locked into the All-Star race, Josh Berry. I kind of hinted at it earlier. This, kind of like what you're saying about Priest, this is 100% in his wheelhouse.
Without a doubt.
Out of everybody in that field, he has the most laps at North Wilkesboro because he's been racing all those late model races there. He's literally taken every he's racing the late model race this weekend there. Like, any opportunity there has been to run laps on that track in a car in an actual race, Josh Berry has been in a car for the race. So,
that's a great point.
All these other guys don't have any laps there other than last year. So, like, Berry has the most experience in the car, not in the car, just laps on the track. And Berry comes from the short track discipline of the late model thing anyway. And he ran lights fucking out there last year. I mean, obviously, no one was touching Larson, but in the open, and then he ended up running like second or third in the All-Star race. Like, that's just my pick. I don't know. I just could see him having a good feel for the track, and he's gonna run that freaking whole late model race this week, Wednesday night or Thursday night, whatever it is. So I don't know. I feel like he's a good pick. He's gonna have the most laps of anybody in the car this weekend. So, like,
my pick is just a feeling. Your pick has stats to back it up. So I'm here for it. That's definitely the one I would go with. If I was picking off of what we just said, I'd go with what Dawson said. I'm voting with my heart. You're voting with your head.
Yeah. So that's I don't know. I'm pretty sure last year they had bets on the Open as well, if I remember correctly.
I think they did
bets on the Open, and I picked Josh Berry to win the Open because he was in practice and all that. He's like blistering fast, so it just kind of made sense. And I had something about that weekend because I picked Larson to win the truck race, Larson to win the Cup race, and I picked freaking Berry to win the Open. So it was like,
got them all.
I had like 3 bets I remember from the All-Star race last year that like all hit. That was like, holy shit, you know?
Yeah.
So, that's kind of where I'm at. I haven't heard or remember or seen if anybody Cup guy wise is running the truck race.
I'd have to look.
I know Busch is done. That was his 5th race. So Busch is done. I would love to know. I guess we'll find out this week. But anyways, Josh Berry's he's a dark horse, but also like kind of not a dark horse. It's a weird pick, but
you can't take Kyle Larson out of your running ever on anything like
never.
this. So
it's just the only thing that's different about that is if you put a bunch of guys with no experience on nothing on any track, you could take Kyle Larson just on a talent level of like him figuring it out kind of thing.
Yep.
So yeah, you could always take Larson, but Larson's odds for freaking every race recently have been like 250,
ridiculous.
350. It's like, what is that?
Yeah, that's what happens when you got a lot of fans and you're really freaking good. They're all voting. They're all picking you to win, so they're going to lower that book number down as far as they can get it.
And he does win them. So he wins them too. So it's like, damn. So
and
Larson's odds
are
going to be very high, especially or very low. after winning last year, him being Larson, all the things.
Yeah, you're not going to get paid out much, but you're going to have a good shoulders to rest your case on.
Totally. So, I mean, if you're going to pick, Larson in your top 5, Barry in your top 5.
Hamlin in your top 5. He's another short track guy.
I just don't know, dude, if I could put Priest in my top 5 for my fantasy. I don't know.
Like I said, I'm voting with my heart on that one. I could just see this being somewhere where he just goes and outruns his equipment. Let's put it that way. I think he will outrun where he's been running at somewhere like this, but that is just a feeling. We'll have to see what happens when he actually gets out there, because I agree with every one of your doubts.
Something else I want to throw out there. I brought it up, in 2022 or 3, whatever it was, he went out and smoked him in practice at Martinsville, smoked him in qualifying, and then sped on pit road when he was smoking him in the race. Led like 80-something laps straight, whatever.
Yep.
Okay, so when they went back to Martinsville, like every time I have like been all right, Priest, is going to do good, going to qualify good, going to do this. And every time they went back since then, he's just not done well.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it is. Did you see where SHR's like land is for sale now? Like where the building is? Like there's a shit ton going on at Stewart-Haas Racing.
That team is just falling apart right in front of us, and we're just watching it happen. So we'll see how long that lasts.
There could be 4 charters available next year, and I'm seeing, and I'm sure you're seeing it too, and anybody else has Twitter, but they're saying this is going to be the craziest silly season of all time. Someone even posted on it was like Jeff Gluck or Jordan Bianchi. Somebody was like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how silly is a silly season going to get? And one of them put 15.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just a lot of the first domino fell with Michael McDowell, and then once one falls, they all start changing.
Exactly.
And then when Adam Stern already has the information that land is for sale, they're talking to other owners about charters being out there. It's like something's going on at SHR.
Yeah.
I don't know
and
what
the charter
is.
deal has yet to be finalized too. So right now, that's what they were talking about. A charter ain't even worth $20,000, much less the $20 million someone's going to try to sell it for.
Exactly.
Right now, with no guarantee that you're even going to have it. So it's
there's
weird
a lot of
right
weird
now.
stuff going on, and man, all that to say, I hope Dale Jr. goes Cup racing. I want to see a Junior Cup team.
I don't know. I don't know if he's willing to shell out that kind of money for a charter, and he
if
better
the charters
do it right
go
now
down,
if he's going to get it.
If the charters go down, or could you see him partnering with somebody?
Oh, well, I mean, also, if you have 4 of them flood the market at once, that'll drive the price down just because there's so many of them available. It's going to be hard to get so much money out of it.
Yeah. But could you see Dale Jr., and I'm not saying who,
No.
It would be a Chevrolet team, but you don't see him like partnering with whoever?
I just don't see him
Earnhardt
going
Children's
Cup racing. Unless with all the things that we're talking about there, if all of that happens, I could see him considering it. But with that, if that charter deal comes through and it's a good one and that price stays up there, no, I don't see him getting into Cup racing.
If the charter deal
in
comes
my mind,
through,
it's like a 20% chance.
I do think, though, if the charter deal comes through and these teams start getting a bigger chunk of money than they do now, and they're not 1,000, 100,000% relying on a sponsor, I feel like that, not necessarily for Dale Jr., but that's going to shake things up, too, in a big way for a lot of teams.
Well, it's just really cost prohibitive right now. I mean, you got to shell out $40 million for a charter, and that's before you even buy a single car, single engine, single
That's
tire.
literally just to show up there.
That's just to even get a right to show up to the racetrack and have a guaranteed starting spot. He could go out there and not even worry about a charter and just start up his own team
and run the open cars, right?
Yeah, just run an open car and hope to God you qualify every weekend. But that's a lot of risk in and of itself. So it's a tough thing to ask right now. There's a reason Spire's doing so well, is because they have all this money backing them. But without a shitload of money, you just can't make much happen. Because first you got to spend $40 million, then you got to buy a few chassis, you got to buy a shitload of tires, you got to buy a couple engines, you got to buy all this, everything, all the people, equipment. It's a lot. I mean, it's $100 million investment.
Let's talk. I know we're running hour and a half here, but I want to bring something up, and I saw a lot of posts about it yesterday. Okay, talking about Spire doing good. The 7 car did good at the beginning of the year, but in the last, however many races it's been, Spire, outside of the 77 car, Carson Hocevar is finishing top 15, top 20 every single week. The other 2 cars, dude, are running like dog shit. What is going on? Everyone is confused.
I think it's because
Me
you can throw money at a problem, and that will keep your head above the water. But it takes experience. It takes a well-gelled team. Just because you have all the money to put all the pieces into place that make you think they got to work, it doesn't mean that the machine's going to be well-oiled. It takes a while to get all that stuff together. I know they've been around for a few years, but they're just now acquiring all this top-notch stuff. While that may increase their performance a bit, I could absolutely see them throwing so many new things into the fire that it's just taking them a while to figure it out. So I'm giving them a bit of an excuse. Money really does help a lot, but it also takes just experience and having a team that's worked together year after year. You hear 2311 talking about how the pit road is their weakness right now. They've had the same pit crew for a couple years, but it takes a while for them executing pit stops every week to be consistent enough. I mean, and still they were losing the race on pit road most of the time this week. So I think it just takes a little bit of time. We'll see where they go in the future, but they're making a lot of big moves, and who knows, maybe Michael McDowell coming over is they want the experience of this guy took a no-name team and turned them into a race-winning team 2 times. So maybe having this expert at the helm of how to take a small team and make it a big team is going to help him out.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. I just don't know. I just expected more, I guess. I don't know.
I agree. I've been a little disappointed too, but
I've been disappointed, man. The Zane Smith is like lower in points than Harrison Burton. And I mean, Zane Smith has literally not finished more races than he has crossed the finish line in more races. And we're talking about a guy that freaking every year that he ran a truck was in the top Final Four and has a championship. And he came in and I know he's like signed to Trackhouse, and that's another situation with Trackhouse and Suarez and SVG, and like what really is going on there? No one really knows, and no one really knows about the Spire thing either. But now McDowell's coming to the 71, so you know yep. I don't know. It's just the whole thing's just crazy, and I just before the season we actually talked about Spire in a very great light. And that light has not come to fruition yet at all.
It has not, and who knows? Maybe it's just they're trying to do too much at once. They're trying to solve all their problems at the same time, and they're just, like I said, you can throw money at a problem all day long, but all that's going to do is keep your head above water. It takes a lot more kicking and gouging to make. It takes genuine human effort that money cannot change to put all these things together. So, right, it's a large learning curve, is all I know. You're competing against teams that have been here for decades, and you're just trying to buy your way. You're trying to buy your way into victory lane, but it's a lot more than just money.
All I know is for Josh Williams, not Josh Williams, the race car driver, but Josh Williams, the spotter, who's spotted for Blaney's whole career, come off a championship this past year. What kind of money did they have to give him to spot Zane Smith and run 34th every week?
They must have paid him good, but
he must have got a fucking pay raise to leave a championship winning team to be okay with going to there. And I know apparently he spotted Zane through his whole Truck Series career, and they've won championships in a ton of races, and I get all that, and they have a great relationship. But man, going from Blaney winning championships to going to the 71 car and them not finishing races. I mean, he runs backwards more than he runs forward. It feels like
he's getting paid to do less work.
Yeah,
paid more to do less work.
Crazy to me.
What a great situation to find yourself in.
Crazy.
Man,
but
I love it.
We're running 133 here, so we can wrap it up.
We're running
now.
over, but I think it was a good time. So
it was a good race.
Either way, thanks for making it this far. If you did, Brandy, we love you. Happy Mother's Day to you again. I reckon we will see everybody next week. You can find me online everywhere at Caleb Conrady.
Dawson Edwards Music.
Don't forget to follow Raised Rowdy Racing across the board.
Raised Rowdy Nikki T, Matt Burrell. This will be out this evening. Thank y'all very much for listening.
Heck yeah.
We're out.
Go ahead and Dawson's probably. Are you Dawson Edwards Music on Venmo too? Because after you see this new pave job at North Wilkesboro, it might have you inspired to do a little driveway paving later on. He's going to need a couple bucks to help get the paving crew out there and give him a nice little blacktop there so he's not wearing out his tires. With
On
all the
my,
rain they're getting in Georgia
on my, like,
lately.
20-foot driveway I got out here.
Yep. With all the rain in Georgia they got lately, he's tearing up his side yard, y'all. Let's get this man a paved driveway. So thank y'all for listening. We love y'all, and we will talk to y'all later.
Peace.